We've got Chris on technical, Neil on insight, and Steve in the driving seat. It's Talking Formula One.
Good evening and welcome to Talking Formula One with me, Steve and Chris. How are you doing, Chris?
All right, I wasn't expecting that start.
No, straight in, straight on, professional. We'll do it live. It's been a couple of weeks. How have you been doing? All right?
Yeah, plodding along. It seems like it just seems like the off season, doesn't it?
It does. It's weird, isn't it? It doesn't feel like we've had much of a season. I know we haven't had much of a season, but it's weird, because it's like 3 races in and then 5 weeks off. It's like we haven't got started. It's so strange. When we're getting to the end of it now, is it a couple of weeks down to Miami?
That's the problem. I've lost it all. It feels like the first 3 races were just reruns on Sky F1, really.
Yeah, it's strange. Like, these were demos, but we're not actually starting the season yet. To be fair, when we get to Miami, it could be the start of the season for a number of teams if they've had 5 weeks off to, get back to the factory, back to basics, get the cars where they want them, or certainly more so than where they have been, particularly, like Aston Martin, for example. But the biggest news is coming out of the past week or so. 5 weeks off, 3 races in, and the FIA decided this isn't working. They've made changes. Regulation changes to do with energy deployment to give us hopefully more of a sort of flat-out lap during qualifying. Hopefully less super clipping. That remains to be seen. What are your thoughts on these changes?
In qualifying, it's a bit pointless, really, if I'm honest. You're not going to get anywhere near the qualifying lap that we had even last year. It's quite obvious that the FIA have realised that they've gone the wrong way down this rabbit hole. And if they were so sure that this was the right way, then they wouldn't be making these many changes that early, I don't think. Here he is.
Howdy.
Hello. Welcome in. How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good.
What have I missed?
Well, not a lot. We're just discussing that it doesn't feel like we've had much of a start to the season because it's 3 races in and then you've got 5 weeks off. Looking at the FIA probably feeling a little bit embarrassed because they're 3 races in and they've had to make changes to the regulations. What are your thoughts on that one?
They don't really seem like they wanted to, and they're quite minimal changes. I think the biggest one is stopping Mercedes and Red Bull messing around with their qualifying setup, where they would power for longer than they should do, and then suddenly the deployment would drop off a cliff. Because that was part of the problem, that mapping accidentally came into use in the races and things when it shouldn't have done.
Yeah, it does. It's embarrassing, isn't it, for the FIA, because it's like they're saying, okay, we didn't want to do this, but we know that the regulations aren't working, so we're going to have to make changes. Whether they'll make any difference or not, obviously, is the big thing. Like you said, Chris, I know that there's sort of reduction on the super clipping and things. Whether they'll make an effect or not, like you said, we're not going to get into the sort of qualifying laps we had last year, years before. But it is embarrassing, isn't it, for the FIA? 3 races into a massive regulation overhaul, and they've admitted that they've messed up.
I think they're secretly hoping maybe for quite more reliability issues, so it wouldn't be so evident how bad these regulations are in terms of a spectacle. Especially qualifying. Qualifying's the issue, isn't it?
Were they just hoping that technology, or the teams would have found technology that was beyond what most of us expect, so that the problems wouldn't be quite so bad?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because they might have been thinking, like, secretly hoping for, the teams would have found something, right? So we'll be fine, we'll be all right. And then it turns out that they haven't, and everyone's getting really super clipping.
As we said before, they've gone down an avenue of trying to get the likes of Audi into the sport by going down this electrification route. But actually, the world isn't going down that route. It's actually probably going to be swinging back more to the renewable fuels. So give it to us, I say. This year and next year with these regulations, and the new engines will come in 28, I think.
Did you boys hear a comment that Audi came out with anyway, saying, don't point the finger at us, it basically wasn't us?
I didn't hear that. No. I know that the FIA in Formula One obviously made these regulations to appeal, or certainly put a bit towards regulations to appeal to other manufacturers, get more manufacturers back into the sport, go down this sort of hybrid battery routes with how world car technology was going. But it's like you say, Chris, it's not going in that much of a direction.
It hasn't actually attracted, in essence, it's only attracted Audi, because Ford, all Ford done is put the name on a Red Bull powertrain.
Yeah.
And Honda was still in it, obviously Mercedes. Alpine have dropped out because they couldn't make an engine that was good, ever. So actually, this hasn't actually achieved in gaining any more manufacturers.
No. Yeah, it's net zero, isn't it? It's a net. You've not made a profit, you've not made a loss, because you've gained one, you've lost one. Renault decided that after 10, 11 years of trying to make hybrid engines and failing, that it's not really for them. They've called it time. Yeah. They were like, all right, well, we're done then.
Problem for them is that their engine was only in one car, and it was almost like the McLaren Honda issue. You don't know that the engine boys are adamant that they weren't the problem. A lot of them guys have gone to other engine manufacturers now that they claimed they were never the problem.
Yeah, it's frustrating because I thought when they were going down this route that it might entice other manufacturers to either come back into the sport or dip their toe in. Maybe people were saying could we see the likes of BMW come back, Toyota.
Cadillac aren't even interested in making their own engine, from what I can see.
Well, is it a couple of years they've got Ferrari engines for until they put their own engine in the back? The GM in the back?
So, at this rate, they don't want to make this engine, do you, really? We don't want to commit resources into making this engine to then turn around and go, actually, we're changing.
Can GM make an engine that isn't a 5-litre V8? That's what I want to know. That'd be awesome.
Do they have V6s in IndyCar?
They're hybrid in IndyCar, I know that.
Okay.
Because they brought it in midway through last season, hybrids.
And if any prospective manufacturers are watching this going, should we get involved? Should we, if they're thinking about maybe dipping a toe in Formula One, if they're watching this thinking, it's probably not for us really, because it's not exactly shining bright light on the sort of hybrid, more focused on the electrical energy side of things, is it? It's because all you read really is negative comments from the fan, mostly anyway. Negative comments from the fans. The drivers have had bad things to say about it. People saying it's not Formula One, Max Verstappen, it's Formula E on steroids. You kind of think, do manufacturers or will manufacturers want to get involved? There's so many manufacturers I'd like to see come into Formula One or come back to Formula One. But will they want to when the engines are a bit of a joke?
Yes, I don't think the FIA have helped, and you've obviously got the governors of F1 as well. I don't know, they seem to have been adamant that this is the direction we need to go, and the fan base aren't with them really.
Well, Delano Cardi had an interview, didn't he, last week, and it was a tough watch, I think. He was defending it and everything and sort of trying to gloss over it, and it was a difficult watch. I don't know if you guys ever saw that one. But yeah, he was trying to defend the current state of it and polishing a turd effectively. But yeah, no one was really falling for it. It was a difficult watch. But it's embarrassing, isn't it, for the FIA? The biggest motorsport category in the world, the so-called pinnacle of motorsport, 3 races into these new regulations and they're having to make changes. It doesn't reflect well. So yeah, could they bring engine changes, like rule changes forward even further, like you think, Chris? Is that a genuine possibility?
I'm intrigued when we go into the wet. I'm very concerned about the wet with the amount of torque that they have, and what they do there. These engines annoy me already, and I'm sending them for 3 weeks.
You've been talking about them gets the blood pressure up.
There's a video I watched not long ago. They mentioned about potentially having a bit of if they go into anti-stall on the grid, they can use the electric to try and help them off the line.
Yeah, they've changed the start, haven't they? So they can. What have they done? They've done. I can't remember the full thing, but they've effectively made it for the teams that are useless at starting. They've made it a little bit better for them.
Yeah, because there have been some teams that have really struggled, haven't they? Audi.
There was a minimum speed, wasn't there? You had to get up to before the electric.
Yeah, that's it. For the electric, that's the one. Yeah, so that's only going to really hamper Ferrari because they're absolutely electric off the start. So
yeah, I think Audi have struggled. They've lost so many places because they've got the massive great turbo, isn't it? It takes more to get that thing going. They're like Ferrari, but they're teeny tiny turbo, and they're absolutely, literally electric off the line, and they just get swallowed up a little bit during races. But
they're allowing teams to adjust their engines mid-season. I don't know how many goes they get at it, whether it's just one, but if you're sort of behind on performance, you can upgrade your engine. So whether this new change will affect Ferrari, whether they'll be able to go, right, we'll stick a bigger turbo on there. Because it hampers them, really, if every other team can get this get-out-of-jail-free card and they designed their car around the problem.
Yeah. It's certainly going to be interesting, isn't it? But obviously I think it's a couple of weeks now until Miami. I need to look because, like you say, it's, I got so out of touch with it recently. I can't even remember when the next race is. Schedule. Have a look here. Miami, 1st and 3rd of May. So we've got a couple of weeks. You got next week, and then 3rd of May, you have got the Miami Grand Prix. It's a shame, really, that after a 5-week break, you think you want to get back to something nice and exciting, and you've got Miami.
I think it's 9 weeks until we go to Austria now. So.
Yes. Not long till the European season starts. Come on.
Yeah, 9 weeks. As long as Trump stops bombing places.
Yeah.
So we can get on that flight.
Nice. So obviously we head to Miami in a couple of weeks' time. Are there any teams that you think, apart from Mercedes, obviously, that have sort of really not excelled so much in 2026 so far, but made a good name for themselves? Mercedes, obviously, but there's got to be a couple of other teams, isn't there? Any other teams?
Williams.
Yeah, all right. That's enough of that.
Actually, no, they have impressed me of how you can go so wrong when you spend so long on one car.
Yeah. The only impressive thing about them this year is how disappointing they've been.
That was another thing I watched, is they put all of their last year's resources into this season's car. And for it to have gone.
How bad is that? I was watching a video, it might have been the same one. They were talking about where Williams has gone wrong.
It was the crash test on the front nose that set them back a bit. And then the overweight car was made even worse.
Yeah, so there's a lot to do. Obviously, strengthened it past the crash test, but they put a ton of weight on it. And
they've got the Mercedes gearbox and rear suspension, but they built their own, in which they're really happy with, but it's causing mechanical setup issues.
Yeah, right. It's got a tendency to cock a wheel at the back, hasn't it, effectively, when they go around certain corners, and it just goes light in some corners. So the drivers are driving that car really with no confidence in it. Which, like you say, when they piled all of the resources into 2026, and for years James Vowles has been saying we don't care about this season or next season, 26 is our year that we're going to focus on. Well done. Well,
he's lucky. He's lucky. The season starts so late, really, isn't he? If I'm honest, you had 3 races. We're nearly into May. They've got lucky that they've got 2 races that they didn't have to turn up to.
Yeah.
How much work do you reckon the teams have been doing? Are we going to get a massive upgrades?
Shed load, yeah.
I
wouldn't be surprised if they've managed to pull forward a couple of big upgrades, which probably due a start of the European season. But they could well be, because you can easily spending 2 weeks out in the Middle East with half your staff. You're all in the factory working, getting it done. So I'm surprised there's a fair few European season upgrades that have actually come quite a bit earlier.
we're going to turn up to Miami and it's going to be a 1-2 for Aston Martin, they would have found something and they're going to smash it. Guaranteed.
They found something. They found a bolt to stop the vibration, and then it suddenly it's amazing. Just tighten up that bolt, and that's all right. That stops the vibration.
Yeah, found the problem, lads. It wasn't that expensive. Somebody tightened the bolt up. Yeah, I think every team will bring upgrades, won't they? They've got to, even Mercedes, because they'll know that the 5 weeks between the last race and this race, other teams will have done the same and they will have tried to catch up. So every team might have upgrades. Williams might be slightly lighter than a Skip now. I don't know. Might handle better. The Aston might be shaking itself to pieces. Cadillac, yeah, they've been solid. They just need to get themselves closer to that back.
Haas have quietly impressed me. Well, Behrman has. I think for the size and the budget they have, I think to have that sort of, I know they've got a Ferrari engine, but to have that sort of package straight off the bat, I think is quite impressive for them.
Yeah. No, I think outside of Mercedes, I'm most impressed by Haas. Particularly, like you say, particularly Behrman. Ocon's been a little bit quiet, a bit under the radar. But, yeah, Behrman's looked really, really good. So they're thoroughly deserving of their position. It won't be easy to keep it because you've got other teams that are going to catch up. RB have been doing okay, or Racing Bulls, whatever they are. Lindblad is impressed, nice and early on. So there's a lot out there to really.
As I say, the issue with Haas is obviously keeping it going. They haven't got the resource to keep developing that car. They have to pick and choose, really, don't they? So whereas the big boys just keep going.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting fight, I think, between the likes of Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes. Red Bull just seem to be in a sort of no man's land at the minute.
I think this is Miami will be a big weekend for them because I think people will be expecting them to bring an upgrade of sort, and they need some sort of push forward, especially with all the changes that are going on in house.
Yeah, well, we've obviously made more personnel changes with Gianpiero Lambiase going to McLaren. What do you think?
They announced a couple of new people in certain roles, didn't they?
So obviously one of the big talking points, as it has been since Australia, really, is Max Verstappen. So with Gianpiero Lambiase going to McLaren, what are your thoughts? Will we see Max Verstappen on the grid next year? Will he be in a Red Bull? What do you guys think?
I can't see him staying at Red Bull.
I don't think he'll be a Red Bull.
Whether one of the McLaren drivers does leave, I'm not sure. It's been stated that both drivers are loved and no one's getting pushed out, but it's F1. We'll see what happens. It's mostly looked that he'll go to Mercedes.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Piastri in a Red Bull next season. Max in a Mercedes powered car.
That's pretty much the wording that was used.
Which probably Mercedes wants, but if Honda wasn't such a bag of spanners, that would be a serious consideration for him. But you can't go there now because you'd be wasting 3-4 years of your career.
Would you remember? Yeah, it wasn't that long ago that everyone was saying, Verstappen in an Aston Martin, because you've got obviously Fernando Alonso towards the end of his career now, as he has been for about 5 or 6 years. But you've got an Adrian Newey built Aston Martin with a Honda in the back of it, which at the time was class of the field. A team that's being bankrolled by Lawrence Stroll. So you think this is a hell of a combination. Max Verstappen in an Aston Martin, and now it's probably the worst car to stick him in, isn't it? Surely.
Can't say.
Very quickly.
I think Russell. I think it might be the three that goes around: Piastri, Red Bull, Russell, McLaren, and Max to Mercedes. I think that would probably be the right moves for them all as well.
Are they all out of contract this year?
I think George has possibly got a break clause, much like a woman. I think Piastri would probably want to move if available. Judging what Mark Webber's been sniffing around, and he's been doing the old sniff around a paddock again.
Yeah, come to Williams, make it happen, Mark. No,
that's the trio I think it's going around in a circle. If I'm honest, if there is to be changes.
Well, there's the clause, isn't there, in his contract that if he's outside of the top, or is it top 2 in the championship? Because it was 3rd, wasn't it, last year?
The way they go, it could be top 10.
Yeah, there's a contract in his contract that says if he's outside, I'm sure it's top 2, then he can go, and he's not going to be in the top 2 this year. He'll be lucky to get a race win this year.
Something must have been said because Lambiase was very much, or the two of them were very much, I'll do whatever, wherever you go, I'll be there. And then basically Max has been so up in the air with what he wants to do. He doesn't want to get sort of dropped in the deep end, left in the lurch sort of thing, and is pretty much made a jump already. But whether there's anything else we haven't been told yet.
I wouldn't be surprised if actually Max walked away next season and came back in 28 when there was new regulations. Did a year in GT racing. While
enjoying the old Nürburgring stuff, isn't he?
Get these regulations out of the way, and he'll come back with a different. That one.
It's always a risky move, isn't it? Going away when you're so successful and coming back down the line.
He's like Schumacher, isn't he? He'd walk straight back in any team, much really like Alonso did. You know, if he wanted to come back, he'd walk straight back in any team.
Yeah. No, it's a risky one, isn't it? Because Schumacher walked away, came back. He wasn't the same. Kimi Räikkönen didn't really seem to be the same when he came back. Obviously, had a couple of good years at Lotus, but then very quiet, ticking along. Really,
he was just turned into a very good number 2, didn't he, Kimi?
Yeah. Which, when you thought this is Kimi Räikkönen, how the hell is he a number 2 driver?
The thing with Michael is he'd never done any other racing, did he? While he was out, he basically just done things that he enjoyed, and
also he come back. He come back late, didn't he? Whereas Max would still be in his prime.
Yeah, and with Kimi, he was obviously when you're young, you know what Max was like when he first came in, or Alonso, any of the youngsters. You've got that little edge that. You basically give it a bit more than you would when you're an older driver, and Kimi had already got what he wanted from the sport. He was just there for enjoyment, so I think he potentially lost a little bit of an edge through that.
Yeah, so I'm just reading about I'm trying to find where the current contracts are up. So Mercedes, Russell and Antonelli, their contracts are up this year.
Are they only given like 1 year? So you can just keep doing +1s.
Oh no, Russell I'm sure had a longer. Did Russell always have a 1 year deal from the start? Can't remember now. Red Bull, Verstappen 2028, but he's got get out clauses. Hadjar has got a 1 year deal.
With Lewis and even with Rosberg, they always seem to be spending, good 6 months to almost a year on trying to sort out their deals, and it just seemed almost every season they were trying to sort it out.
I tell you what, there are loads of drivers that end this year. So it's got Cadillac, Perez and Bottas multi-year deal. Alpine, Gasly 2028, but Colapinto's 2026. Both the Audis multi-year deals. Both the Haas multi-year deals. Aston both 2026. I wonder if Lance Stroll will keep his seat for next year. That's a tough one.
For me, Gasly, he almost gets to the point where I think he's not good enough to be in that seat, and then he'll pull out an absolute blinder and make me look stupid for saying it.
Yeah, one of those. He's got an absolute worldly drive in him, isn't he? But it's so inconsistent. So there's a lot at the end of this season.
Both Williams drivers
What's that?
Both Williams drivers are up for I think. Well certainly I think
multi-year apparently, but we'll see. But it depends largely, I would imagine, on the performance of the car. If it's still an absolute S-box at the end of the year, then both drivers are going to want out, particularly if there does become a seat available at Red Bull.
I think Albon will carry on seeing it through, but I think Sainz, if something does turn up that he perceives as, an upgrade, I could see him potentially going.
I'm intrigued to see. I'm intrigued to see if anybody takes a punt on Alex Palou in IndyCar. He's absolutely walking away with the IndyCar.
Yeah.
So I don't know. He used to be under McLaren, then he used to be raced from Arrow. He fell out of McLaren, so that's dead in the water. But
Yeah.
he's
never went McLaren, did he? He
No,
was contracted and he broke it.
he's the Max Verstappen of IndyCar, and I can't see how he won't end up in Formula One at some point, especially markets he can bring to the sport.
And talking of McLaren, very quickly in our last couple of minutes, Stella confirms McLaren are set to deliver a completely new car for Miami and Canada. So this one will be able to start races, I'm told. Well, I know one of them wasn't quite his fault. He actually crashed. But yeah, it's again, this is the kind of thing in it that could switch things around. You know, McLaren bringing a completely new car. Ferrari might have obviously kept their quick starts, but improved the race pace. You know, you could see teams like, maybe Red Bull can do something now, which is crazy to think of. A couple of years ago, when Red Bull were, the team, and you're now thinking, can Red Bull turn this around? It's mad what can change in Formula One in a relatively short space of time, isn't it?
As far as that Piastri incident in Australia, it almost seems like we've gone a bit old school with the way Mercedes went about things. It's things of the past where they would come out with a lie saying the engine wasn't ready. Well, Mercedes are using the brand new engine in pre-season, getting all the information they need while giving all the other Mercedes customer teams the old engine.
Yeah.
And then you can go, oh, okay, it's fair enough. We're not going to give you all of the software information because each team's going to do that themselves. So that's fine. But to stump them with an inferior engine and then lock them in for the gear ratios for the season, it's just stinks a little bit of,
Yeah.
You didn't really need to do that.
And Toto Wolff isn't even saying something. They don't want to change the regulations to something which could hinder Mercedes effectively. So of course you're going to say that because you've got the class of the field.
One of the things where Russell is like a main thing for all the drivers, and he's being very quiet because obviously things are going quite well for him.
Yeah. Oh dear. Well, we'll certainly see. We've also got another show next week before the Grand Prix, so we can have to have a look at that. There'll probably be more updates that come out about any teams bringing upgrades, if anything does happen. We might get a bit more of an idea as to who's doing what and if anyone else is going to be left by the wayside, Williams. So we shall certainly see you then. So thank you very, very much for watching. We shall see you next week. I've been Steve. He's been Chris. No, he's been Chris. He's been Neil. Cheers. See you later.
Ciao.
And Gov could say he's now doing the town show, but if he's in doubt, and if he's not around, we can just leave. So this is going to be a very unceremonious exit from us here. But how long is the live going to go on for then if no one's just in the room? It's just going to be live for 2 hours. It's just people are going to be sitting there watching just an empty room. Brilliant. But thank you very, very much for watching. We shall see you next week. I think we'll just leave after this. Cheerio, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Right, so that